I was so excited when I found this, and I know you're involved, so
Oh, no.
I have to get your take.
Okay.
On Saturday, July 13th,
Yeah.
is the Lower Keys Underwater Music Festival, when divers and snorkelers from all over the world come to the Keys to listen to music under the water. And I'm just wondering, like, do you have your plane ticket? Are you ready to do this?
What's the music?
Does it matter? It's it's coordinated by US 104, which it sounds like it's gonna be 60s to 80s music. That sounds
Well,
kind of in your jam.
yeah, I'd be into that. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess you could say I'd. There's so many ways I can go with this, right? It's like I get that wave. I'm.
I found it.
Yeah.
The sea folks, the sea focused offerings are typically ranging from Jimmy Buffett's A Pirate Looks at 40 and Finn's to the Beatles' Octopus's Garden to the theme of The Little
I get
Mermaid.
it. I see what they
You
did
get how
there.
see what they did there?
I see what they're
See
doing
what they
there.
did?
Yes. I see what they're doing there. Yes, I
Oh,
see.
there's really no more to be said. We'll just
No.
move on.
Just remember, everybody has your story to tell. Tell it well. Untitled Marketing.
And now, for your listening pleasure, here's Pulizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. This Old Marketing. Take it away, boys.
Well, hello, friends. Welcome to This Old Marketing, proudly brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for who? For, yes, business professionals, and only business professionals. If you're a business amateur, you've got no business there. I'm Robert Rose. Welcome to episode number 478 for Friday, May 2nd, 2025. And with me, as usual, my pal, my colleague, and probably the only guy on the planet who has no idea what's going on the show Andor, Mr. Joe Pulizzi.
I gotta tell you, I did watch the first.
Are you watching it?
Season. No. I watched the first season of Andor.
Okay.
And I loved it.
Just recently, you just watched the first season, or
last year when it came out.
Okay.
So I watched it. That's when I was watching more series, because I watched The Last of Us last year, and I watched Andor and absolutely loved Andor, but we don't get Disney Plus anymore. So
there's that sad for you.
I'm as they say SOL, but good. Do they release them all at once, or did they release it every
They're doing
week?
them 3. There's 9 episodes, I believe, and they're doing blocks of 3. So they're doing 1, 2, 3, and then what they do is there's a and we're only on the second one, right? So I'm only on the second one, but they've released 3. Then there's going to be a big time jump to the second 3, and then there'll be another big time jump to the last 3.
Whoa.
So
wow,
sounds
like a Doctor Who type thing. They're doing all
they're basically they're jumping forward like a year, and then they'll jump forward another year or something like that. Basically, it's all leading up to the events, of course, of Rogue One. Yeah,
Rogue One. Not Rebel One. Rebel One's terrible.
Yeah, but
yes,
it's so good. It's so good. It so makes me want them to reboot the first 3 movies with that tone and that level of sophistication. Oh, it would be so good. It would be so good.
Why not?
I wish you would. I really wish they would.
Star Wars fans will go.
Of course.
They will go, and they'll be awesome if they're done in that same kind of style. So I don't know.
It's really good. It's really good. It's just good television first of all. So, and then it's just great Star Wars. It's the best of all the Star Wars. And I loved Rogue One. I thought Rogue One was great too, and the tone and everything there. But and this matches that very much. So it's
I gotta tell you too. I watched the first episode of The Last of Us, and then I saw somebody's Facebook post about this dramatic, and somebody died, and I'm like, what? Nobody died in episode 1. Apparently, I'm not going to give anything away.
Yeah.
Wasn't me. It was you. And now
It
I'm
was
not
me.
going to watch it.
I
I'm
didn't,
done.
but here's the thing.
done.
I didn't do it. The commenters did it. I didn't. My post was very innocent. So here's the thing. I know the game really well. So I knew that was coming. I knew that event was coming at some point. I did not expect it to be in episode 2, but that event was an inevitability for me. And so it was like, that was surprising. And so that was my post. I basically said, hey, I knew this was coming. I did not expect it to be so soon. And damn, it was brutal. And then a few of the commenters, I actually thought about deleting some of the ones that gave it away, but I didn't delete the comments.
It doesn't matter because I'm not watching anymore. I'm not.
No, you're not.
doing
Oh,
it. No.
yeah. My wife threatened to stop watching it.
Not until they release a new Mandalorian and I can see him again.
That's
I just not good. By the way, I have to apologize. Our air conditioning, it's 80 degrees now in Cleveland, which is, it happens. Tomorrow it's going to be 50.
Hear it. You don't hear it, by the way.
You don't hear it?
No.
That it's 80 degrees?
Oh, okay. Easy, champ. I basically said I can't hear your air conditioning.
Oh no, that's the problem. It's not running. I am hot as balls in here, man. It is a sauna, and I have I don't know if you can see. For those people watching on YouTube, I have the little back office here. It's all surrounded in the same wood as you would find in a sauna.
Right. So I've always meant to ask that. Like it's, you.
Oh yeah. This actually, I think this used to be a sauna, but I'm in here and I'm not complaining, but we needed a little air conditioner. So I got, if you see these, you see the little circles above my head, those things right there, they pump out air. Right now, they're not pumping out anything.
I see.
And it is like 95 degrees in here. It's crazy hot.
Oh, dear.
So if I pass out, call my wife.
Yeah.
She's not here. She's not here.
Is what we got.
She's not here. I'm the only one. I'm the only one here.
That's
so if I fall and pass out, like my youngest said that, because I've been going on these long runs, because I'm doing the Cleveland half marathon in May, and he's like, you should wear Life Alert.
Yeah.
and I actually said, it's not a horrible idea. Maybe I should wear Life Alert, because if I run too far from home and I can't make it back.
Sure. We could get one of those little bumblebee phones that they get for old people.
I just can't see the numbers because they're not big enough. All right. We have a special episode. Not that I love talking about me for the whole show, but let's talk about.
You do. Let's talk about content creators. We have a special episode, and we wanted to. There's some research that came out from Kajabi about the creator economy and where content creators specifically sit in all of that. And then just generally, we thought it might be good to look at a state of the content creator economy in 2025 and sort of talk about that. We've got CEX coming up in August. Talk about hot. And then and just where are we now? And so we've got a few discussion points, some few insights from the research. We can talk about what we're seeing out there, and and nobody gets hurt. I think that's the general rule.
I think nobody getting hurt is probably the main thing. I'll show it up here for those of you that watch us on YouTube. We're gonna put it on the screen here just for a second so you can see how this is a really good marketing effort by the folks at Kajabi. You and I have talked about forever, like research. You do some solid research. A lot of people cover it. You become known for that kind of thing. It's one of the best marketing things you can do. They put together a fantastic site. It moves around. There's lots of There's lots of wonderful pictures and things like that, but it's some really good information. So you and I decided that we were going to cover this, but then expand on it and go into our take.
I think my favorite part of that is the fact that they didn't put out a PDF file. They just basically had the long report there with that's really nice.
It's mobile friendly.
Yeah, it's mobile friendly. It looks good. It's
very
nice
long
design.
scroll, but it works.
Yeah, it's good. It's definitely good. All right, well, let's get to our first topic here, which comes from the research, which is as you and I read the report, we sort of picked up on some of the same things as we wanted to put them all together. And the first topic that I'll throw out to you is sort of the rise of the creator CEO, or what might be the rise of the, as you might put it, the content entrepreneur in 2025. And the research really found that there was an increase of those who were taking this professionally, right? To taking this idea professionally, and specifically around the idea of coming to an owned media platform, right? So it's a content creator, business person who is really leveraging an owned media property. So thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, if you read through this research and look at everything, there has been a huge shift. I hope this is, I'm going to think that it's right, from just people creating content on social media to moving, as you say, to be the CEOs, owners of businesses, content entrepreneurs. Kajabi calls them entrepreneurial creators. Kajabi.
Yeah.
You had one, you had one job.
Right.
You had one job.
Just a Google search away. It's just a Google search away.
We've been calling it content entrepreneurs now for 5 years before they really started talking. Just use the term. It's okay. It's okay. But I get it. You want to use your own term, whatever. But entrepreneurial creators are basically what we like to call content entrepreneurs. And it's
tomato.
It's tomato. Yes, I believe that. I mean, this is why we created CEX. This is why we created the Tilt, because there were so many content creators out there that weren't thinking first as business owners. You have to first know you are first an entrepreneur. You are first an owner of a business. You then just happen to be in the business of creating content to build an audience and monetize that audience.
Yep.
So let's start there. And I love to see this, because looking at all the press and the coverage of these social influencers, if you will, over the past many years, who didn't have a business model, who got their 15 minutes of fame, that didn't have the processes around it to handle it. It was like, that's not what it is. That's not what it is. So if they're moving from these social first creators that are on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram, whatever, and they're saying, no, I've got to treat this like a business, then hooray. Then we're whatever we're doing, somebody's doing their job, and they're starting to listen to this. So that makes me happy. I really want this to be true. And the question I was going to ask you, maybe this covers some of our other topics as well. I feel that that's what's happened with TikTok and how they've been in limbo have really, and you don't have to be on TikTok, but I think it got a lot of creators to wake up and say, oh my God, I cannot put all my eggs in somebody else's basket. I have to really focus on taking care of me and mine and looking at this business model. Do you think that that's true? Do you think a lot of creators out there started to say, look, I've got to rethink my business model because I can't give it up to everybody, give it up to something that's not under my control? Do you think that's true?
I think it's partially true, for sure. Yeah. I mean, and we can certainly talk about TikTok and the TikTok tantrums, sort of the volatility of platforms. And I think to your earlier point, the sort of rise of the entrepreneurial content creator or the content entrepreneur, which, by the way, just flows better, is, I think what we're seeing there is the idea that you can actually make a business out of this is way more viable in 2025 than it maybe was in previous years, right? So
agreed.
That, we can see the influence of influencer marketing. We can see the success stories, everything from a Mr. Beast to, so many others that are out there, and by the way, that includes sort of the newscasters as well, right? The big trend right now in news, honestly, is the number of news personalities that are starting their own thing. We've talked about Tucker Carlson, and we've talked about, others from,
Chuck Todd just came out with his own stuff.
Chuck Todd came out with his. We got, I'm forgetting the guy from CNN who started his own thing. So many have started their own business with regard to, and by the way, then also reporters from like New York Times are starting Substacks. We start to see, and all of these are around, how do I get paid as a professional for being a media professional, more than I am in sort of a dying business, which in many ways is broadcast television news, or print-based news. And so the influencer or the creator is becoming more important in so many ways, more than even the brand. And what I see from a trend out there is the idea that there are people who are independent, have been independent, or want to go independent, who are launching businesses, and you would expect that, right? There are people out there that we see, they attend CEX, they're speakers at CEX, and they're independent people. But there are also this new wave of people who have jobs, at big companies like Microsoft or Salesforce or IBM, and they have either tacit or otherwise implicit permission to have a side hustle, to have a side business, right? To have a business of being a content creator. I know plenty of, for example, a VP of marketing at a big company who has a travel and food blog, right? And is making money out of it. It's a small business for them, and they're not competing, and they're not doing anything outside of, the bounds of their work agreement, but it's really starting to become okay. That's becoming a culturally okay for people to do, and to be public about it, to be public about it there. Then I think if you combine that that's the rise, right? If you combine that with the idea of what's going on with what you just talked about with TikTok, and the sort of volatility of Facebook, the volatility of the existential volatility of something like TikTok, and sort of the decreasing, or, it's really what it is the prevalence of the For You, right? Where the For You tab on social media has really given rise to the uselessness of a big following on social media, because now every post has to earn its own keep. You have to basically try and go viral as best you can in the For You page for wherever you are. And that has really urged people to say, well, where do I build my audience? Because if it doesn't matter so much on social media, if I'm not getting any algorithmic help on building a big audience on YouTube, or building a big audience here, how am I going to monetize that? And it's just harder these days to do that on something like YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. It's just difficult. Well, I can do that in my own way and start to sell sponsorships and subscriptions and basically monetize through e-commerce or whatever. That's where I see that trend really toward that owned media.
Well, I think it's interesting to see that if we look at years past, even last year, the reliance on those platforms for direct revenue. I'm reliant on Instagram, for TikTok. There are some that are still reliant on it, but I think those would go, according to this research, into that social first creator.
That's right.
Where the owners and CEOs and content entrepreneurs are saying, look, if you're not selling your own stuff, your business model could go extinct.
That's it.
You have to be in control of your revenue channels.
Right.
So these
or have some sort of affiliate agreement with something, right?
Something.
Yeah.
So you're saying, okay, I can be on one or two social channels for discovery or whatever the case is, or to move from rented to owned land, but you have to have something. You have to have a podcast, you have to have a Substack, you have to have an email, you have to have something you call home from your content house, if you will, that you can drive people to and control the commerce from that standpoint. I think you're starting to see that happen. So that's interesting. You see that move, like we've been talking about forever with content marketers. The same things happened. And I guess not to jump all around, but if you're just a content marketer and you're listening to this saying, well, I'm going to stay at my company. Here's the thing. Please, stay if you're happy, stay at your job. Like, there's no sense in moving. But I'm just saying, if you want to be rich someday, if that's a goal of yours, it is very, very difficult to make significant money unless you own something.
Right.
That's it. That's uncontestable data. You look at the most of the millionaires that are out there right now, and the majority of them are first generational entrepreneurs. They started their own business,
or family, or
actually, many more of the millionaires actually started their own business. There are a lot of inheritance, a lot of family money, but the majority of them out there right now did not inherit their money. They're first generation entrepreneurs. So from that standpoint, you just need to know that, hey, if I want to be completely free from a monetary standpoint and I want to be rich, you need to own. Now, let's say you're a marketer in a business. If you want to be marketable and you want to prepare yourself for anything that might come your way, you never know how things go with your company, you should be doing this right now. Like you said, you have friends that are marketers that have their own blogs, they have their own channels, they're building their own thing. that is the greatest way to de-risk yourself, is to have something just in case it, or maybe it'll be really work. And you're like, oh, well, I don't have to work for your job anymore. And our good friend, Brian Piper, congratulations, Brian, just made this move.
Yep.
He left
Yep,
he left the
absolutely.
university he worked for, and he's starting out on his own. And I wish him the best. And I think he's going to be successful, but he sort of planned for this for many years to make this thing happen. And I think anybody can do that. And I think that that's just the best way to market. I tell my kids that too. I'm like, just build an audience somewhere, whatever. And you will have an opportunity to do things you wouldn't have if you just work for somebody.
Well, I think that's the important point, right? Because look, there are a lot of people out there who are not entrepreneurial, who are not looking to build a business,
Yep.
but maybe looking to market themselves better in the world.
Yes.
And in fact, I taught a workshop on this not too long ago to a nonprofit organization where these people were passionate about the nonprofit that they worked for. They wanted to work for the nonprofit. They have no entrepreneurial, and it's not about becoming rich. It's not about becoming a multimillionaire. They love the work that they do. They love giving back to the world, but they wanted to make so the key is, well, why should I then try and build an audience, or why should I actually try and do something like this? And the answer, at least what we talked about in the workshop, is twofold. One is building an audience through the brand that you work for. Like if, let's say, you work for a nonprofit that you're totally passionate about, you're going to bring a lens to that the brand can't, and a voice to that the brand can't duplicate. Mm-hmm. And so you surfacing is in the brand's best interest. In other words, you as a marketer in the nonprofit or in your company, surfacing your voice as something that you're passionate about with this company, fantastic. That's going to help the company. It's going to help from a marketing perspective, because surfacing those employee creators, surfacing those influencers, internal influencers, is something that is now a defined trend. It's absolutely happening. But on the flip side of that, to your point, Joe, the other is also true, which is it also helps you become a more marketable employee should you want to leave, right? Should you want to basically jump ship to another company, to another nonprofit, to start your own, to whatever that is. Building an audience for your personal brand is only going to make you more valuable in the marketplace. And so it is harder these days, like for those of us, and we definitely have a level of privilege here, having done it in the early days when it wasn't so competitive and it wasn't so difficult, that building an audience was easier 10 years ago, 15 years ago than it is today. It's much harder today. And so, but that doesn't mean we can't and shouldn't do it. You've got to think about how you want, and it comes back to something you always talk about, which is what is my personal goal and objective for this? And there are many here. There are many that are viable goals, including building your own thing because you want to become super rich or you want to own something. But in addition, it could just be being a more marketable employee. It could be helping your brand out that you work for because you're so passionate about it. It could also be sort of becoming more networked to help yourself just become more widely known for whatever reason you have.
Just a quick story on this one, and maybe this will resonate with a lot of people listening to it. A friend of mine, this is in 2015, 2016, did a really good job of exactly what you're saying. They built an audience around it. They marketed themselves so well that they were hired full time. It was great. It all worked out. What happened when they were hired? They stopped the content creation. They stopped the blog. They stopped all the personal branding stuff. And unfortunately, in all this mess we're going through right now, got laid off.
Right.
What if that person would have kept that blog up? Yep. Probably might not have gotten let go, but if they did, would be highly marketable.
Yeah,
and
more
marketable, or have other options, because in 10 years that thing probably would have had a bigger audience. So, anyways, it's just to think about those
consistent.
things.
And that comes back to something you and I talk about all the time, which is the consistency is more important than quantity, right? It is about the consistency of doing this over time. And this is just recognize that building this, I mean, look, I have built, not like a Joe Pulizzi. Like I'm nowhere near a Joe Pulizzi in terms of size.
Oh, stop it.
But from a LinkedIn perspective, I have a pretty sizable audience. And it gives, I will be the first to admit it. It gives me a little more leverage than if I didn't. It gives me
That's right.
more, I can get access to people better. I get access to companies more readily. I get access to crowdsourcing opinions better. It's a valuable tool in my tool belt to have an audience on LinkedIn, to have my small little email subscriber audience, to have my, it's a helpful tool in everything that I do.
Mhm.
And that it's something it's a muscle that you have to build over time. And it's just a consistency it's a marathon, right? You don't do this overnight. This is not a GTM hackathon growthathon
right.
thing. It is a long, hard, difficult, but fun and interesting journey.
Well, to that point, just about consistency. And I mean, I'm out off of every social platform except for LinkedIn, and I do my newsletter.
Yeah.
I do. So for the past, whatever it's been, 5 years, I've really just done my newsletter every 2 weeks.
Yep.
So it goes out to combined LinkedIn and email, goes out to about 50,000. And it takes me about 3 hours every 2 weeks to build my audience, keep the audience. And and I love it. But it's not that much.
Right.
It really isn't. And it's the fact that I've done this now since the newsletter's been going on since 2019. So it's just additive.
Yeah,
I wish more people would do that.
It's a good thing. And the data here in this research are really pointing to, and look, there is a certain bias that Kajabi is going to have in this research to make things look viable. There's, look, we're not, we're not immune to the fact that this
It's
is
marketing,
this
folks.
is a piece of content marketing,
Yeah.
right? So trust us, we're self-aware enough to know that this is illustrating viability of the platform in order to further the idea that Kajabi is something you want to do. I will say, interestingly enough, one of the decreases that I have seen of late are people launching things like on-demand, lessons, or on-demand workshops, or on-demand educational platforms. I'm seeing much more around building paid communities, building paid groups, events, content templates, all those kinds of things, rather than sort of the, hey, buy my 4-part course, right? I think that may have jumped the shark a bit.
I think you might be right. Before we get to our concluding thoughts, we need to pay the bills.
Yeah,
so
let's pay some bills.
Let's do
pay
that.
our own bills. Monetize. You don't become the world's most valuable women's sports franchise by accident. Angel City Football Club did it with a little help from HubSpot. When they started, data was housed across multiple systems. HubSpot unified their website, their email marketing, and fan experience into one platform. This allowed their small team of 3 to build an entire website in just 3 days. The results? Nearly 350 new signups a week and 300% database growth in just 2 years. You want to kick off some great marketing? Visit HubSpot.com to hear how HubSpot can help you grow better. Are you ready for the next wave of AI? Let me introduce you to a podcast, The Next Wave, Your Chief AI Officer, hosted by Matt Wolf and Nathan Lands, and it's brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network. You can catch The Next Wave with Matt and Nathan. They are leading AI creators who are your guiding light in the AI and technology frontier. AI technology is transforming the way we do business, and The Next Wave, well, it strives to be a leading podcast on AI technology and how you can apply it to your growing business. Listen to The Next Wave wherever you follow your favorite podcasts. Go.
Sorry I cut you off there.
No, it's okay.
I feel bad.
Right.
I feel bad.
I'm used to it.
You are. You should be used to it.
I am used to it.
I tend to do it more and more lately. I like mid-Robert sentence.
That's right.
Off,
That's right.
Because it can't get any better.
That's right. That's the new song.
Yeah. Right. So just kind of wrapping this up as we go through. First of all, we'll put the link in the show notes. We'll
Yeah, to the
also
research.
put the link
For
to
sure.
CEX, Content Entrepreneur Expo. Kajabi, it's Content Entrepreneur Expo. We should look at that versus entrepreneurial creator, whatever we
Yeah.
call it. Anyways, but great study. But we'll put the link to CEX as well, August 24th to 26th. And I'm a little bit biased with these results, Robert, because I want these to be so true. I love this. I love that this is happening. I love that content entrepreneurs are looking to more niche opportunities. I love that they're focusing more on like podcasts and email sponsorship revenue and even books and those types of things. I love that. So I want that to keep going. And I guess, do you have like a major takeaway here that maybe creators and marketers need to look at moving forward as we go?
You look, I think it's a, you often talk about the idea of the best time to start something like this is when things are challenging, right? So you talk about starting CMI in 2008, right? When we were all putting money under our mattress because we thought the world was coming undone. I mean, people forget how panicked we were in 2008 and
My
2009
God,
about
yeah.
what was going on. I mean, people were literally talking about taking cash out of the bank and putting it under their mattress because people were freaking out. And you and I both had difficult conversations with our spouses about, we're kind of going all in on this thing, right?
Mhm.
And so those kinds of challenges, this idea, getting more entrepreneurial, regardless of your motivation, I think what these numbers point to for me and my big takeaway is this. It's getting bigger. It's not getting smaller, right? So even if it's not as big as they say, even if some of these things are a little skewed, even if all of these things aren't completely true, the arrow is up and to the right. And so I think from a viability standpoint, it's the place in the economy, it's the place in a career, it's the place where I think no matter what your motivation is, doing the activity is a productive activity. In other words, I had a friend call me the other day who wants to do this, right? Who wants to get into becoming a creator, and she wants to sell a service and become sort of an influencer in a space, and it's in the world of AI, and
Mhm.
actually it's in AI and government, which is really an interesting space to be in. And she's got a ton of experience, and she's not just going into this, blindfolded or anything, but and I said the key is like she doesn't have the there yet, right? She doesn't have the, you know, AI is still changing, and really nobody's an expert, and she doesn't, she's got a little imposter syndrome going on around being an expert in this, and so, there's all that kind of stuff. And I said the key is to start building. Don't wait, right? Don't wait until you feel like you're there to start building. Just start building. Like,
Yep.
and I've said this on this show before, market where you're going, not where you are, and grow into it, grow into whatever it is. But just start. And that's my big takeaway, because I think it's a viable direction, no matter how. If you need to discover your motivation, you need to discover your ultimate goal and objective. Ultimately, you don't really know. But if you've got a passion for something, if you feel like doing it, just start.
I love that market where you're going. I mean, that hits me pretty hard, because when I started thinking about launching what became Content Marketing Institute, as you say, the industry was called custom publishing. I'm like, that's not going to last, but that's how everybody knows it. So maybe, I
Right.
have a logo that's custompublishers.com, folks, which I loved. It was a beautiful logo,
Yeah.
custompublishers.com. But then I sort of took your advice and I said, where are we going? We're going to content marketing. So I
That's
need
right.
to reposition it. And it took a year and a half, 2 years to really work it out and to come to peace with it and say, okay, I need to move forward. That's the opportunity. The second thing that I'll say is, let's just be, I mean, look at all these jobs we once thought were so secure. I was talking to my sister's a teacher. She doesn't know what's going to happen with her teaching position, what's going on. Everything seems to be changing. I have a couple people, as you do as well, that have jobs or now do not have jobs in the government. We thought that was so safe before. That's not safe anymore. You've got accounting jobs and lawyers that are being displaced because of AI, and thousands of other places. So just say, if you care about your family, and you care about you moving forward in your career, whatever you want to do, just think about preparing for this type of thing. And I think that's just reasonable to do. And we're not saying, you're right, a lot of people aren't entrepreneurial, and that's okay. But I'm just saying, look at the lives we're living now. Look at the state of the economy and how things work. It's not, if it was ever secure, I don't know if there was ever a thing called security, but certainly isn't now. So let's take care of ourselves.
Yeah. I'll add just 2 quick points to that before we wrap up, because I think what you just said is so important. On the whole market where you're going thing, I tell this story all the time, and will, by the way, tell it again when I speak at CEX in August, which is when we were talking about content marketing. When you and I were talking in 2008, nobody was talking about content marketing, right? And if we had looked at all of the search trends, right? If we had used sort of search, which is so many ways that the ways that businesses will look at what they should focus on is they go, well, what's trending right now in search? Like what's the top queries? What's the top trends? And if we had looked at that, we would have been called articlemarketing.com or custompublishing.com or brand, native advertising. Branded content, right? Nobody was talking about content marketing. And the calculus was, this is where when we do the market research, when we do our actually classic marketing research and intelligence gathering, you're looking where you can zag where everybody else is zigging, and you look for those opportunities that you're passionate about and that you can own and get to that sweet spot that you always talk about. That's the idea here. And then the second thing I'll mention, just to your point about the sort of doing things because you care about what's going on, et cetera, et cetera. That's really at the heart of when we start to think about when we're marketing either ourselves or our business or something that we're going to be passionate about, something that will last, right? Something that will last is the idea of, it's the thing that you would do even if you didn't, if you didn't have a job, right? So in other words, when you find your passion for something, it's something that you would do even if you didn't get paid for it. And the idea is to, we often have this sort of flawed idea of like, do what you love and the money will follow. It's like, no, you have to do what other people love, and hopefully you love that too, and then the money will follow.
When the money follows, then you'll love it.
Exactly. That's true. And so the key there is when you think about that, I always remember the Jim Carrey quote where he talked about his dad. And he talked about one of the reasons that he wanted to become an actor and become an artist and do all those things is because he knew that his dad, who worked 40 years in a job, and he said, just remember, folks, you can get fired from a job that you love. And it's that idea is that risk mitigation is so key there. So anyway, just good stuff all the way around.
Very good. Oh, good show. That was fun. I hope people got some value out of it.
Yeah.
I know I did. And it's all about me and a little about you.
Totally all about you. That's
all about me. I'm such a prima donna, but at least I know, at least I'm aware of it. I think that's
You're self-aware prima donna for sure.
Yeah, I think that's okay. Anyway,
that's good.
So we are back to a regular show next week. Woo!
That is correct. And I'll be back from Scotland with lots of kilts on and my Sean Connery accent. So
I can't wait. So record it and we'll put it on here on the YouTube channel and we'll show it.
Fantastic. There will be pics. Yeah, pics or it didn't happen. Yeah. All right. Well, as Joe just said, yes, we will be back next week with another regular news show. Until then, just be careful out there. Start something you're passionate about and just try it, right? And until we see you again next week, just remember, it is your story to tell. Tell it well. We'll see you next week on This Old Marketing. Hey, thanks a lot for making it this far in this week's episode, and thank you all for being a part of This Old Marketing. You can check out all the show notes of what we talked about today at thisoldmarketing.com, and it's also where you can leave us a review or a voicemail. We need those reviews and comments on whichever platform you follow us on. And if you haven't followed the podcast, please go do that and make sure you catch the latest and greatest episodes every Friday morning. We're on Apple and Spotify and all your other favorite podcatchers, of course, but we'd love it if you went over and subscribed to us on YouTube. That's right, YouTube. youtube.com/@thisoldmarketing. We'll see you again next week, folks, with another episode of This Old Marketing.